You mentioned there a Labor-Greens government. We've heard from the Greens leader Adam Bandt today. He's laying out very clearly his policy demands to form a minority government, a Labor-Greens government with Anthony Albanese. He's talking about bringing dental into Medicare, universal free childcare, ending the logging of native forests, and also going back to negative gearing changes, the kind that Labor put up 2 elections ago. This is a fair suite of demands. Do you think that he'll have any success?
Chris, I think the most worrying thing out of all of this is that there is an enormous amount of sympathy in Anthony Albanese's left-wing government for the sorts of things that Adam Bandt is putting on the table. I think he would get a receptive hearing to all of the impacts, as you point out, to forestry, etc., from the Labor Party, because that's what Tanya Plibersek believes. And Anthony Albanese is the most left-leaning Prime Minister or leader of the Labor Party since Gough Whitlam, and he has a natural sympathy for these arguments as well. And what we also know is that Anthony Albanese has introduced an unrealised capital gains tax for people who make a capital gain in their superannuation even before the asset is sold. So that's going down the track of Jacinta Allen in Victoria. And of course the Prime Minister hasn't ruled out in question time over this term that they would make changes to the tax treatment of the family home and negative gearing. So if you think that these are just crazy Adam Bandt thought bubbles, these are concepts that have been discussed actively by Jim Chalmers and Anthony Albanese. So the risk is real, it's great, and if Australians who are thinking at this election, well, Anthony Albanese, he's only had 3 years, we'll probably give him a go, what damage could he do in 3 years? The answer is an enormous amount. He can do an incredibly damaging three years ahead with Adam Bandt, and if they continue to spend like they have, then we will see further inflationary pressures in the economy, and that just means higher interest rates at the next in the next term of Parliament, and that would be devastating for homeowners who are already struggling with 12 interest rate increases under this government.
Anthony Albanese says he wouldn't deal with the Greens after an election if there's a hung parliament, though. But Adam Bandt is saying that's nonsense. He's saying he will have to deal with me, and here's what I want.
They're blood brothers. Anthony Albanese and Adam Bandt are joined at the hip. Only their mothers can tell them apart. So I just think this is a huge problem. That you can't pretend that. And again, this is a lie by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister will jump into bed with the Greens after the election if it means that that's what he has to do to get into government. And the Labor Party in Tasmania went into a coalition, Julia Gillard went into a coalition. Anthony Albanese is about, this much difference between his philosophy and his ideology and that of Adam Bandt. He masks it well, but I promise you, in a second term, he'd be bolshy and very keen to do whatever he could to get the support of the Greens.
Now, you've fleshed out more details on your gas policy today, getting more gas into the domestic market. That will lower prices and flow through to lower electricity prices. That makes sense. That much we can all agree on. But the former Western Australian Premier, Liberal Premier Colin Barnett, says the policy's a good one, but it needs to go further, that you should be reserving 15% of gas reserves on the East Coast from those who are exporting to put into the domestic market. Why haven't you gone that far?
Well, Chris, we've done 2 things. One is that we want to increase supply because Labor has done everything they can to stop new gas projects from proceeding. So bringing more supply in will bring the price down, and that much we know, and the Frontier Economics report cites the figure of 23%, almost a quarter, the cost of wholesale gas comes down by. And the reason that's important is that gas obviously is used across society for heavy manufacturers. We were at BlueScope today, and they are very supportive of our policy because their electricity and gas bills have just gone up by millions of dollars tens of millions of dollars over the course of the last 12 months under this government. So bringing more gas supply into the market through faster approvals and working with the gas companies is important, but also honouring the foundation contracts. So where contracts already exist with Japan, for example, we want to honour those, but the gas that's sold beyond that, we want it to come back into the domestic market, and that way we can achieve the outcome that we need with more supply to bring prices down here. And look, Chris, the beauty of this policy is that it, like the the cut that we've announced to the fuel excise, to the fuel tax, it has an economy-wide benefit. It's not just when you or your partner fill the car up or your kids fill their car up that your household is benefiting. This helps tradies, it helps pensioners, it helps delivery truck drivers, it helps the farmer, and that brings price pressure down across the economy. And if we do this in relation to gas as well, it's not just your electricity bill go down at home, because gas is such a big part of generating electricity and creating electricity. It's also going to be the case that we can bring down the cost of steel, as BlueScope said today, and we can bring down the cost of bricks. We were at Brickwork the other day, and that they have a big part to play in the economy. Every manufacturer, the manufacture of fertiliser for farms has an enormous amount of energy required through that process. So I think there is an option to bring down costs across the economy, to increase gas supply and to increase the number of gas fields, and I think we achieve pretty much what we need to out of our policy.
Queensland's announced now that they're going to go for some more gas generation and extend the life of their coal-fired power generators. That's going to be good for secure supplies and good for prices. But doesn't it also demonstrate that net zero by 2050 is dead, that it just can't be achieved on current policies by Labor or the Coalition?
Well, Chris, I think what it demonstrates is that you've got a state government in Queensland now that actually has an eye on cost. The Labor Party just doesn't care what the end cost of electricity is, and that's why it's gone up by 32% under this government, and that's why gas has gone up by 34% as well. And one thing you know about the Prime Minister's offering at this election is that he's looking the Australian public in the eye, and he's not saying to them this time that you'll get a $275 cut. He's promising them that electricity and gas will be higher under him in the next term. So David Crisafulli, I think, has done the right thing here. He has the capacity to lower the cost of electricity and gas in Queensland to create a competitive advantage for businesses there. And other state governments have extended the life of coal, and that's an essential, or the lights go out. So I think there is part of the emotion being replaced with reality now. And our gas policy, we've been very clear that we need to have a real disruption to the renewables only train wreck that Chris Bowen and Anthony Albanese are advocating, and I'm sure that common sense prevails in this space, and it is in our policy, because I want to bring prices down, and that's exactly what our gas plan, which is all about natural gas, our natural gas, Australia's natural gas, being for Australians.
Just quickly, because we're almost out of time, you've got your campaign launch on Sunday. Is that where we will hear more detail about how you can tackle our fiscal situation? We've got debt and deficit as far as the eye can see, and we've got no realistic plan now from Coalition or Labor to get that under control so that the budget is sustainable.
Chris, I think, and you've been central to government as well, so you know the space well, and you're an expert commentator in relation to these matters, but coalition governments always manage the economy more effectively. Many of us come from a business background. We've created businesses, we've employed people. We understand what it is to help businesses grow. There have been 30,000 small businesses close under the course of under the stewardship of the Prime Minister. The highest record of small businesses have closed over the last 12 months in our country's history. And behind every story, a family's lost their home or their savings or their jobs, their dreams. So we can make the decisions which will make our budget and our whole offering to the Australian people more sustainable. People realise that this is a sliding doors moment election for our country. We have the prospect of a recession in the United States and a global recession. We don't know what's going to happen with the war in Europe or in the Middle East. We don't know what's going to happen in the South China Sea. And I think now is not a time for a Labor Greens government, which is led by a Prime Minister who's demonstrated that he's weak and always late to the situation that needs to be addressed. He's out of his depth, and on the other hand, a coalition that's got an experienced team, and I want to be a strong Prime Minister for our country that can make the decisions necessary to get our budget back in order, to help families recover from the 3 years of Labor. And what I do know from speaking to thousands of Australians over the course of the last 3 years as we've moved around the country is that our country just can't afford 3 more years of the Albanese government.
Peter Dutton, it's good to hear that your father, Bruce, is recovering. It must have made last night's debate very difficult for you with that going on in the background. Do you hope you can get the campaign to Queensland and pop in and see him sometime soon?
Well, yeah, Chris, obviously it's on your mind, and I'm just really lucky. I've got amazing siblings who are there with Dad at the moment, and he's good. I spoke to him this morning. He's got some great care where he is, and he's very appreciative, as I am, as our family is, for literally thousands of messages, well wishes that have come in. And I'm really truly grateful and very touched actually by that. And yeah, I hope to get to see him very soon.
Thanks for joining us, and happy campaigning.